Hello, welcome to our last of five, our fifth live in this Festive sock along. And I want to say thank you so much to everybody for joining me this week. I have had a lovely time. I hope you have as well. So tonight we're going to do a couple of things. We are going to start with an ICord. So the ICord is not something you would normally associate with socks, but it is really, really useful for hanging up decorative socks. You can also use a ribbon, and you can use lots of other things as well, but I love an ICord. They're such a great technique, not only for using as decorative elements like hanging things up, but you can also use them for casting on and casting off as well. So there's loads and loads of great options. Hi Annie, it's lovely to see you again. Thank you for joining me. And then we're going to have a quick look at how to weave in some ends, because that's obviously one of those really important things that nobody loves, but is really, really good to do. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to graph the toe if people would like. So what I'll do is I'm going to ask if people would like it. We covered it yesterday, but if you'd like to see it again, do let me know. But if you don't really want, if there's no one who'd like to see it again, there's no need. You can see it in yesterday's video as well. I am ready to do it though, because I feel like it's something that is just such a great technique. So I'm going to swap across to the camera like I did the other evenings, and then I'm going to come back to you as well, and talk to you about a few more bits as well, and how to maybe continue on your sock journey, because I think that, you know, festive socks are one thing, but socks are not just for Christmas, they're for all the time. So I'm going to swap across and I will see you on the camera in just a moment. Right, so for an ICord, you need, now, some people would say that you need two DPNs, but you can actually do an ICord in two different ways. So they call it an ICord. It's been named by, so it's not, it was named originally by Elizabeth Zimmerman, at a different time, I think, and it's the idiot chord. So we don't call it that anymore, obviously, because, you know, we've moved on. Yeah, things change, you know, it's now the ICord. So, because it's really straightforward, is why. So yes, the ICord rather than, you know, what it was originally called. So the first thing you do is you need DPNs, but you can also use regular needles. I'm going to show you both methods. I'm going to show you one with the DPNs, and then I'm going to show you how to use it separately. Hi Shirley, hi Fiona, and hi Chris. Welcome. Yay. Lovely people to join. So the first thing you want to do is, like anything, you have your yarn and you cast on. Now you can use whatever cast on you want. I tend to use, I'm going to use a cable cast on now. So doing my slip knot, same as we've done before. So you do a slip knot onto your needle, and then I'm going to cast on 3 stitches. ICords can be worked on 3, 4, 5 stitches. So I'm just going to cable cast on. I'm going to cable cast on 3 stitches. And the number of stitches you cast on will determine how thick the cord is, and you'll see how it kind of comes together in just a moment. Hi Nicola, welcome. So now the normal thing here would be to knit back, but actually what you don't. So depending on the cast on you have, you may find that your yarn, if you did a long tail, it'll be here. If you did a cable cast on, it'll be here at the front. What you do is you knit the first row regardless. So if I had my long tail cast on, I would just bring it round the back and knit with it. So I'm just going to knit these 3 stitches. So this is it's knit in a stocking stitch because it's technically in the round, but it's garter stitch, even though it's not. So normally what I would do is I would swap back my hands here, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to take my needle, my stitches, and slide them to the other side of the needle, which is why you would use a DPN. And now you'll see that your yarn is actually on the other side, so it's not on the leading stitch, it's at the last stitch. And this is how you make your ICord. You bring the yarn around the back of the work and you knit the first stitch as normal. How tightly you pull it, it's not actually that big a deal. Give it a little pull, but you don't need to pull it too much, because actually the ICord does that work for you. So that's your first row. And again, instead of turning, you take it, you slip it to the other side of your needle, and again, you will see that the cable comes, the working yarn comes across the back, and you knit again. And again, you slide, yarn is at the back, and you knit your 3 stitches. And that is starting your I-cord. Give it a little tiny pull, and what you'll see is that it's coming across the back. Now this is quite loose so that you can actually see it coming across the back. You would pull it a little bit tighter to pull it in together to give it that really corded look, but you want to see it. I want to show you it coming across the back here. But you can see how cord it looks already because it's pulling the yarn around the back behind it to turn it into a cord. And that's how it gets its name, because it turns itself into literally a piece of cord. So I'm going to do a few more rows and then you can actually see it. So again, I slip it, I knit my 3 stitches, and then I slip it again. And I'm going to show you this, I'll show you again because this can take a little bit of a time to get. Oh, it's fallen out. Let me rescue those. And then I'm just going to knit again. Give it a little pull, slide it back, knit again. I'll do one more and then we'll have another look at it. So that is an I-cord. So it actually just turns itself into a seamless piece of knitting. And that is one of knitting's really beautiful little techniques. It's so neat. And what you would then do is you keep knitting it until it's the length you want, and you can literally keep going as long as you want. I've knit very long ones. And then you use, what I tend to do is I use the 2 tails, so one on this side and one on the other, to secure it into my knitting. So that is how you would do an I-cord using double pointed needles. But there are times when you don't have a double pointed needle. So let me show you what to do in that situation. So say you've cast on, actually let me take it all the way back. So we do that again so you can see the cast on anyway. So we do a slip knot, pop my slip knot on, knit my 2 stitches. Now, and then I would knit my first row. So I knit my first row as normal. But if I didn't have a DPN now and I had a straight needle, I couldn't slip it to the other end. All you have to do is slip it back to the other needle tip, and then your yarn is ready to work around the back. So you can see that it's here, and then you just knit it around the front again like you would if you had snipped it up along the needle. So again, slip it back, ready to knit, and then you knit it. Give it a little tug, slip it back, and give it a little knit. And that is how you create the I-cord where you don't have double pointed needles. So for example, if I was using, say, these needles where it's a cable needle, so you could do it on a cable, or actually just to show you how it looks when you use it on a say a double on a tipped needle. So this needle has a little pusheen on the end. So you can see that you can actually do, people would always say have a set of DPNs for an I-cord, but you don't need a set of DPNs. You can just use a set of straight needles as well if that's all you have. So don't rush out and suddenly buy a set of DPNs if you don't have one for doing I-cords. So there you go. That is your I-cord on a straight needle. So you can do it on all the different types. So something I was thinking about when I was doing this is which one do I prefer? I prefer to do it on DPNs if I'm going to be going for ages. The only reason is that I like that movement, and I tend to, and if you don't want to split your stitches, it's better that way. But so can you do, so that's that. Could you alternate rows so that it matches a Latvian braid, or would that look messy? I've definitely done a 2-color I-cord. Let me swap across to the other needle. Let's give it a go. I'm pretty sure I've only done it as a cast off. I've definitely done a 2-color cast off because I've done a number of Stephen West shawls. Let's see it live. It could go very badly wrong. Let's have a go. I'm not actually sure. Let's just join in and see how it goes on a plain I-cord. I've actually never done it, but it must be possible. So if I bring this, let's have a look. I've done it as a cast off, but I'm not sure I've done it as a, so which way would I bring the yarn? So if I bring the yarn from underneath, we'll say, so if I bring my white yarn from underneath, let me just, so if I have this, let me work out where I am. I brought it round, my white is also around. I do my second colour, then I slip it back. I would bring that round, but I'm going to bring my yellow from below. This may not work, but it might. It might. See. So I bring my white. Then I bring my white over again. So you've seen this this is very live. No, it might work after a little while, because obviously it's a bit loose there. Let me do a few more rows of it if people are happy to wait. So I'm going to take my yarn below, and I can go away and have a look anyway after this and see if it is possible. I have a bit of looseness there that pull up my looseness, bring it up from underneath. It'll take a little while to settle. Plus these yarns are different weights, but that shouldn't really matter. It should still see it striping. So that appears to be working. Yeah, it is working. I think part of my issue is that I'm using two different weights of yarn. So what it appears to be, so let's have a go. I bring my yarn that I worked, like the second, not the last yarn I worked, we'll call it the contrast color. I knit the three of those. I then leave that go. I pull the yarn that I'm about to bring up around, and I bring it underneath the yellow, and I knit with it. And then I pull that again, and I bring the other color up underneath. We'll have a look at it and we'll see what it looks like at the back if it does work. So let's take it off the needle, and it works. So actually, yeah, so that's actually a little bit of a way of doing it. So it does seem to work. I haven't done it before, but it does work. So if you carry it underneath, you can get that effect. And if you needed, yeah, so Tracy, if you were doing 2 rows of each color, you would probably, let's have a go. I hope people don't mind. We'll just give it a lash. Oh, I'm definitely from Cork with the lash, I'll tell you that for nothing. So let's try it in 2 colors then. So if I do 2 colors with that, so I'll do another round of the white. So I'm going to bring it over the yellow this time because it's the second time I'm going to use it. Then I put my white down and I bring my yellow up. Oh, I don't want that one. I want to bring this one up from below. Knit it again in this one. Actually, let me just slip that back. It might be a little bit quicker. Then bring this around again. Then we'll slip it back. Oh, let me do that. Slip it back. Bring this from beneath this time. Let me just have a look at it now in a second and we'll see how it goes. So with that, it's, again, you could probably get away with it because, like, if you see here, this thread is traveling a little bit, but again, it's not that bad. So you could, I'd say I would give that a bit of a go. Let me have a look as well. I'll see if someone has written about it, but I think the single color seems to work quite well. I've definitely done a cast off in it, but with a cast off, it's already part of the knitting already, so it's easier because you already have your 2 colors anchored in. But that does seem to be quite effective, actually. I think I can see a lot of those in my future. So that is an ICord and a 2-color ICord. So yeah, let me have another look into it. But if there's anything I should change about that, but it does work apparently when you bring the color in underneath. So that seems to be quite useful. So my dears, that is that one. Now the next thing is a little bit of sewing in ends, and then I will have a wee look at some of your comments and stuff. So with ends, there are correct ways of putting ends in, and there are just fudging it in, right? I'm going to show you how to do both. So with this yarn, which is the roving, it's really soft. So I would just put it onto my darning needle. And with this, I'm going to be putting it into a piece of stocking stitch. Let me just make sure I have the angle on this because this yarn is quite dark. When you're going into stocking stitch, what I tend to do is I tend to look for my stitches. So your stitches are made up of loops. And I take my yarn and say, this is my stitch here. Let me see if I can bring this really close with some really good light. So you're going up and around and down and up and around and down. And that's how your stitch is shaped. So I'm going to take this yarn behind my stitches. So it's going to go up and around and down behind another stitch. So I'm going to go around behind it here. So this is the top of that stitch. So I'm going to go in there and it goes out here. So I'm going to go down and out. So then very gently, they don't pull too much. What that does is it sits in over the stitch. I'm down at the down loop and then I'm going in and up through. And then you have the up loop, so the top of the loop again, and I'm going to follow that down and around. And then you can do that again and again. And what it does is, I would do this for maybe, it depends. So about an inch maybe, or in a fluffy yarn like this, it's not going anywhere. So I'm going up, down and around. So once I've kind of decided that I have had enough of it, yeah, I've enough now. So what I would do then is, actually, let me do one more because I do want to put this on my mantelpiece and I don't want it to unravel. Let me do one more. So I'm going down and around and up. And it is determined not to go with me. Let me do that one more time. It is a little bit short at this stage. Do leave yourself a little bit more on your tails. Actually, a useful thing, if you haven't left yourself enough tails, this needle is very, very big. What is useful is to use the back of the needle to take it through if you've left yourself a short tail. So what you can do is you can take the darning needle through, pull that through, and then just take the needle through. And that's if you have a very short piece of, like if you've left yourself too little tail. So what you can do then is give your tail a little snip. And with the roving, it's great. So what I normally do is I will break up my yarn. So just give it a little break. Turn it into the individual, kind of fluff it up. Let me show you this from the side so you can see it fluffing. And then you just kind of over time, give it a little pat into your knitting. And that'll just form away part of it. And particularly if you like if this was on a sock, this would be worn in really, really quickly. Now the other way to just bodge it in then, if you don't really feel like doing that, let me find a long enough piece. Actually, let me do this one. So this has had a pretty hard life, this little bit. Oh, one thing to be aware of is if you are going to fold your cuff, make sure you sew this in where it'll be hidden. So that's just a little note on that. So I'm probably going to put this on doubled over, so I want to make sure I put it into this line. So let me put this fluffy devil in. Here we go. So if you want to just, you could, so actually this isn't a bodge, this is how you do it correctly on garter stitch. With garter stitch, what I do is, and I'm going to come a little bit closer again, is I split the stitches very gently. Now with roving, it's a funny one to do. This needle is not my, it's actually curved, which is useful, but it's a good size needle for hiding because of the yarn weight. So it goes right through, very gently as well. Don't be pulling things too hard. Like we're always very tough on the knitting. So you just put it in, gentle little pull. I could have done a little stitch across there as well if I wanted, but I'm not overly worried. And again, I'm going to just maybe go down about an inch, split my stitches. Then I'm going to come up on the next loop. So I could do that on the up loop. I'm going to just come up about halfway on the other side. Come up there. Then what you do is give it a little pull. And because you're pulling in two different directions with this, give it a little snip, give it a little pull, fluff it up a bit. And it's in your knitting. Now, this is very obvious because it's chunky, but the tail is gone, and when you fold it over, you can't see it at all. And that's how I would hide things in garter stitch. nice and like that. You'll see different people doing different things, but I like that for garter stitch on the back side of work. Now, just to show you a bodge, in case you just don't feel like that. These are not going to be worn. They're not that important. You can actually see this fluffing together, which is really nice. It's handy because it'll hold it in place. It won't unravel. If you don't feel like that and you just want to make sure that they just go away, you can go in and out of any stitch you want. Just don't see it at the front. So for example, with this one, you might just want to weave it in and out over the stitches. You can just hide it into the back of your work. So you can put it in like that, pull it through. It's not going to be, I wouldn't do this if you were wearing the garment, but you could do that, then you could cut it and fluff it, and it would be fine. I'm not going to do that though, because I'm probably going to make it proper. But again, what you're trying to do is with anything when you're hiding ends is just make sure it's not appearing at the front of your work. So you're really always going into the backs of your bumps and garter stitch, and again the same with stocking stitch. So that is a very quick how to sew in your ends. And again with your toes, I'll show you the toes as well. So with the toes, oh, you see, and actually this is like almost felted in like already because of the type of yarn that it is. Did I sew that in already? Oh, I did actually. I've sewn this in. So what I do with I just go along the tip of my toes. I always do that, and it fits right in between the stitches. So yeah, that's that one. Now, does anyone want to see the graft again, or are people pretty happy that we covered that last night? Because I can do that if people would like, or we can go back and I can answer if anyone has any more questions. Okay, I'm going to come across, and if you do want it, I can do it at the end anyway. So I'm going to switch across again and talk a little bit about socks. Let me have a quick look at some of the comments and questions. Yes, the two colors for sure. I think that worked. I think that's pretty good. I think it'll, it's something I would definitely do I might do a little test of that and try that a little bit more. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you, Susan. I'm really, really glad that you found that useful. The wrap and turns is, once you get it, it's great. And it's such a good thing to, like, once you've seen it a few times. And I was really lucky to be taught how to do short row pickups by Carl Feller, who is one of the world's finest designers. So I was really, really fortunate that she taught me how to do that. And oh, thanks, Chris. I've been knitting. I knit all the time. So I have been knitting, I'd say, continually for the past 10 years. And I've been knitting since I was 6 or 7. So I learned in school. So it's a while. It's nearly like it's 3.5 decades of knitting. And I've been knitting continually for 10 years. So it's all practice. So the more you do it, the more perfect your tension becomes, and the more kind of like, that's all. It's really sad, isn't it? It's like knitting is practice. So dull, but it's true. So now I want to just, before we go, a couple of things I'm really excited to talk about as well. So obviously we've just covered decorative socks, but if you would like to learn about less decorative socks, so feet socks, like actual socks, I posted a link earlier in the group for, I sometimes run a live kind of 5 to 7 day sock challenge, but I'm not running it at the moment because it's kind of coming up to Christmas and everybody's super busy, but I will be running it again probably February, March time. But if you'd like to do it at the moment, there's a link, you click and you can sign up to the mailing list, and every day for a week it'll send you a new set of videos. So it'll send you, and it'll show you how to do them on double pointeds, short circular, and magic loop as well. So I cover all the 3 different types of it. So it's totally free because I love sock knitting. I do have kits for it in the shop, obviously, in a double knit yarn, but you don't need a kit. And to be fair, when you're practicing them, you can make really small socks and just kind of a bit almost decorative, but you learn different techniques in it. So the different heel is in it, and how to position your toe and everything like that is there as well. So that is something, if you would like to kind of continue your sock journey, that's there as well. I do have a sock yarn club at the moment, but I think if you are learning how to sock, I would learn first before committing to a yarn club on socks. But I do have a Facebook group that goes with that, and I will be teaching all of the techniques that go with all of the sock patterns for Sock Club. I'll be doing them in that Facebook group. So it's Sock Club. It's literally facebook.com/group/sock club, I think. And I've also posted a link to that because I'm on a bit of a mission to turn all knitters into sock knitters. So I'm very excited about that. So if anyone is interested, that's there. I know many people actually, I think, who've joined this have already been on that. So thank you for joining me twice. The other thing I'm very excited about to talk about as well is if you do like the teaching style, I love teaching knitting. I'm become entirely obsessed. So I am offering Knit School annual membership. So half of my life is dedicated to Knit School, which is an online membership where you can join, and I do weekly tutorials and knit and natters, and we do all kinds of classes. I'll post a link in the comments below this in case anybody is interested in having a look. And at the moment, you can gift or be gifted. I think be gifted. An annual Knit School membership for 2021, and that is if you are interested in kind of something that isn't kind of, I don't know, it was funny when I was thinking about Christmas gifts. I remember back when I was in my early 20s and I had like my first boyfriend, and we used to buy one another the most, like, you know, the way people used to be buying one another like frilly knickers and silky boxer pants and stuff like that. Like, I'm glad that is kind of, I think that's ended even for like the early 20s now. I don't know that many people in their early 20s, but you know, Knit School, such a much more sensible option for the year. And it's kind of a gift that wouldn't be, you know, put aside, and it lasts all year. So I'm going to post a little link to that in case anybody fancies it. If you're looking for, you know, someone who's trying to buy you something nice for Christmas, you might like that. But that is it. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, thank you, Debbie. That's so kind. I love knitting. Like, I'm just entirely obsessed with it and teaching it to everybody. So that's really kind. Thank you. So yes, if you fancy it, it's there. But you know what? I'm here in this group until the end of December. And please post your pictures. I'd love to see them. If you are stuck with anything, do just tag me in a comment. So I'm not closing the group straight away, because I know that some people have been waiting to kind of do all the classes before buying kits, or even people are kind of knitting multiple socks at multiple kits. So if you do want help, just let me know, because I really would like to see all of your pictures as well. And I'd love to see these on mantelpieces and stairs and everything as they get done. So thank you for joining me for these lives. I really enjoyed it. I like teaching live, although it's a bit unnerving. You know, you're never really sure if knitting is going to behave itself. So yes, thank you all. Have an amazing socking time and a lovely weekend, and then a really nice, and I hope a peaceful run up to the festive season, and then loads and loads of knitting time over the festive season. I'm here for help all the time though. Thank you, Tracy. You are awesome. Thank you. So take care, everybody. I will talk to many of you soon.